So there's no polite way to say this. The people who run Harley Davidson are idiots. Why are they idiots? Because they've literally just trashed the biggest part of their heritage. The company is so big on heritage, and they just discontinued the Sportster. All right, wait, let's rephrase this now. They didn't discontinue the Sportster. The Sportster name is going on to another motorcycle. They discontinued the XL Sportster. So, for definition purposes, the XL is the air-cooled 45-degree V-twin unit construction package. That is an XL. And for the last 65 years, that's what we have known as a Sportster. Everything around it can change. But this basic package, this basic style frame, and this basic package is what we know as the Sportster. And today, the hottest segment, the segment of motorcycling that's bringing the most new riders, the most interest, are the retro standards. It started about 20 years ago. Kawasaki re-released the W800 Triumph with the Bonneville, and now everybody's in the act. And on top of that, you've got companies that came out of the blue. They didn't really come out of the blue, like Royal Enfield. They've been producing motorcycles since the beginning of time. But now suddenly they're on the map and they're producing retro standards. Harley Davidson has had, up until this year, this is the end of the line for the XL Sportster, had a true, legit retro standard already in production. And instead of playing it up, instead of like, here it is, here's the real thing. All these other bikes are redesigned and reconfigured and conjured up out of new parts. Well, look, here we have something that's, okay, so people right away say it's 65 years, but it's not 65 years, it's actually 70 years. Because the Sportster comes from the K model. And the K model was a competition-only bike. It was designed to go against the British twins. It was designed to be as lightweight and compact as possible. The K model was the same basic setup you have here, except instead of the overhead valve heads, it had flat heads. It was a flathead engine. And even after they introduced the Sportster in '57, the K model continued on as a competition-only model, because at the time, suspension and tires really weren't up to like high power levels. And so the flathead actually had an advantage on a lot of forms of competition. And so it soldiered on. '57, when they put the overhead valve heads on here, which, by the way, you Chrysler guys, it's like an exact copy of the Chrysler Hemi head. It's like you take an iron head combustion chamber and you take a 392 Hemi combustion chamber and you look at them, they're like identical. That's when the Sportster was officially born, 1857. Came in 3 flavors. You get the basic Sportster, the basic XL. It was a dirt bike. It was marketed with high exhaust, knobby tires, no headlight, long suspension travel. It was a legit dirt bike. Then you had the XLH. And the XLH was like a touring bike. Not many people remember that one or even talk about it. But it shows the diversity of this motorcycle. You had the dirt bike, and of that same exact basic package, you had this touring bike. And the advertisements of the era showed it with hard bags and a windshield. It had a bigger tank, not as beautiful as the classic. This is from the XLCH. Not as beautiful as this classic peanut tank, but it had all of the elements necessary for a lightweight touring bike, a relatively lightweight touring bike. Remember what you had at the time, these things were locomotives. And then there was the XLCH, which was the hot rod, which is what all of the Sportsters from that period on kind of evolved around. That's the direct descendant of this bike. So you had evolutionary changes during the course of the motorcycle's production. Nothing stays stagnant for 65 years. So the major ones, they added an electric start. They swapped, they moved from right-hand shift to left-hand shift. Originally it was right-hand shift because the British bikes were right-hand shift, and that's, if you're competing against them, that's what you got to have. That took place in the middle 70s. The 2 biggest evolutionary changes, though, were in 1979, they redesigned the frame slightly. They went to this style swing arm. They raised the backbone a little bit. They squared off this section on the back of the bike, or the back of the frame, I should say. And then in 1986, they went to the Evolution motor, and that's what we've had ever since. So in essence, this is just a series of minor evolutionary steps along a package that remained unchanged essentially from 1857. So the Sportster name is going to live on. The XL is dead. The Sportster name is going to live on. But the new Sportster doesn't resemble the old Sportster in spirit or in look or in performance or anything. Now, let's get something straight. You don't buy a Sportster because you want a good motorcycle. I mean, it's that simple, right? What are better motorcycles? Literally every single thing introduced in the last 50 years is a better motorcycle than a Sportster. You buy a Sportster because it represents raw potential. For the most part, I mean, some people just like them the way they are. In fact, I tell you the truth, I never even owned a stock. I didn't know there was such a thing as a stock Sportster until about 10, 12 years ago. I bought a 1200C. I wanted a rubber mount. Okay, that was another step in the evolution, the rubber mount. But people buy Sportsters because it's a blank slate. You can do anything to it. It has the biggest aftermarket support of probably any vehicle ever produced in the history of man. You can literally build one of these motorcycles from front to back out of catalogs. They start off with really anemic power numbers. 50 horsepower, give or take, 60 horsepower, give or take. But you can build these things to 120, 150 horsepower. Anything you can do to a car engine to hot rod it, you can do to a motorcycle engine, a Sportster engine to hot rod it. They have turbochargers for them, they have superchargers for them, you put a nitrous kit on it, they got big bore. You can get 120, 150 horsepower out of this basic package. This motorcycle can be anything you want it to be, and the aftermarket is there to support it. Evidently this means nothing to the people who are currently calling the shots of Harley Davidson. The new Sportster, yeah, the Revolution Max, it's an interesting engine, it makes good power, but it's not a Sportster. It doesn't have any of those characteristics that purists fall in love with. They've tried it in the past. They did it with the V-Rod, liquid-cooled 60-degree motor. They sold them. They were good bikes, but they never really caught on. They never really grabbed that cult classic, that cult status. And then they tried it again with the Street Series, the Street 500 and the Street 750, which was supposed to be the replacement for the Sportster. And again, they went with a liquid-cooled motor. This is a liquid-cooled 60-degree motor. Nobody wanted them. Nobody wanted them. The only place you'll find those street bikes are at the MSR, the motorcycle safety courses. They're loaded with them because they couldn't sell them to the public. And they were good bikes. They were nice bikes. But people don't buy Sportsters because they want a good or a nice bike. They want a raw, crude hot rod. Or they want a blank slate that they can make it what they want it to be. Through the aftermarket, I mean, seriously, what do you want it to be? You want it to be a dirt bike? You can make it a dirt bike, a desert sled. You want a bobber? You want a bar hopper? You want a chopper? You want a cruiser? You want a drag bike? What do you want? Anything you want. And that's the thing about these. This package, this basic package, is the most versatile platform there is. You name it, you could do it with an XL Sportster. And the aftermarket is there. I hope the new Sportster works out. I hope that people like it. But I mean, I don't see it. I don't think it's going to happen. It's an ugly motorcycle. The Sportster has that curve to it. It has all of those organic lines and everything. You just look at this thing and you say, oh, that's a sexy bike, right? Even though it's really not. But you look at it and you say, it is, because it's got the curves, right? The new Sportster, it looks like it was designed by people who hate themselves. The big fat front tire, the giant motor, it's all just stuffed in there. It's fat. I'm sure it's a fine motorcycle. I'm not saying it's a bad motorcycle, but it's not a Sportster, and it's not going to take the place of the Sportster. And the people who are looking at that bike, there's too much competition. There are so many other offerings from all of the other manufacturers that mimic or are close to what the new Sportster is, that it really doesn't stand a chance. The Sportster sold because it's a Sportster. It's the only Harley Davidson I've ever really had any interest in. Now, I know the big touring bikes, that baggers and all that, they're fine, but they don't talk to me. The Sportster talks to me. The new Sportster doesn't talk to me. I look at it and I'm like, come on. So let's just assume that people who run Harley Davidson weren't idiots. What could they have done with this package that actually would have probably put them right at the top of the retro standard heap, like without peer? What would have like probably doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled the Sportster sales? The XL Sportster sales. I'll tell you what I would have done if I ran this corporation. You have a basic package here that needs zero R&D. Every single bug you can think of has been worked out of it. It's been perfected. Why not sell just the package? Why not just sell just the XL package? So you go into the dealership and you buy the motor and trans assembly and a frame. And that's it. That's all you buy. Now, you have in the dealership, you have every combination of tank, of handlebar, of seat, of wheels, of performance upgrades. You name it. Now people come in, they buy the basic package, and they go, I want those handlebars. That, because this is what people have been doing with Sportsters since day one. This is why people buy Sportsters. Do it right at the dealer. Give them a warranty. And then you know what? In a year or 2 years, they did a bobber style. Now they want a flat tracker style. They bring the bike back to the dealership. They say, I want those wheels, that fender, that seat, that tail section. And boom, it all goes on there. The dealership has constant turnover of these same bikes, but they're selling the accessories. And it gives people the opportunity to really customize their motorcycle before it even leaves the dealership. Brand new bike with anything you want on it. And it's entirely possible with this bike. It's done every single day. Nothing on earth has as much aftermarket support as the Sportster does. Anything you want to do with it, you can do with it. And fortunately for us Sportster lovers, that's one of the bright sides of it. So you won't be able to go to a Harley Davidson dealer anymore and buy a Sportster or buy an XL. But you will be able to pick up a catalog and order a motor, a frame, an exhaust. You can build one of these bikes completely from the aftermarket. And honestly, it's cheap enough. The stuff has been out there for so long, and it's cheap enough that you could probably actually build the Sportster from scratch, and it would only cost you about the same as what it would cost to buy one out of the dealer. They threw the baby out with the bathwater. Why? Good luck with your new Sportster. I'll see you guys tomorrow.